On the morning of December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor was quiet. American battleships rested at anchor. Sailors moved through the slow rhythm of a Sunday morning. Across the island of Oahu, airfields, docks, and naval stations seemed far from the war already consuming Europe and Asia. Then aircraft appeared in the sky. Within minutes, the calm harbor became a battlefield. Japanese planes swept over the island in waves, striking ships, aircraft, and military installations. Explosions tore through Battleship Row. Smoke rose over the water. Men who had begun the morning in peace suddenly found themselves fighting to survive. By the end of the attack, Pearl Harbor had become more than a military disaster. It became the day America entered World War II. The attack did not come from nowhere. For years, Japan had been expanding its power across East Asia. Its war in China had already caused enormous destruction. By 1941, Japanese forces had moved deeper into Southeast Asia, and the United States increasingly saw that expansion as a threat to the balance of power in the Pacific. Washington responded with economic pressure. Restrictions on trade, frozen assets, and limits on vital resources placed Japan under growing strain. Oil was especially important. Without access to fuel, Japan's military ambitions could not continue indefinitely. Diplomacy continued, but the distance between the two nations widened. The United States wanted Japan to pull back from its expansion. Japan's leaders were unwilling to abandon the empire they were building. By late 1941, both sides understood that war was becoming more likely. Japanese planners believed they faced a narrow window. If war with the United States was coming, they wanted to strike first. Their goal was not to conquer America, it was to cripple the U.S. Pacific Fleet long enough for Japan to seize territory across the Pacific and Southeast Asia before America could respond. The plan was bold, secret, and dangerous. A Japanese carrier force crossed the Pacific under radio silence. Its aircraft were prepared to strike before most Americans on Oahu even understood they were at war. On December 7th, just before 8 in the morning, the first wave arrived. The attackers hit airfields first, hoping to destroy American aircraft before they could take off. Hangars burned, planes were wrecked on the ground, communications broke into confusion. Then came the attack on the harbor itself. Battleships lined up along Ford Island were struck by bombs and torpedoes. The USS Oklahoma capsized, the USS West Virginia burned. Other ships were damaged as crews rushed to fight fires, rescue trapped men, and return fire against aircraft overhead. The most devastating moment came aboard the USS Arizona. A bomb penetrated the ship and ignited its forward magazine. The explosion tore through the battleship with catastrophic force. In seconds, the Arizona became a burning wreck and a tomb for many of the men aboard. Across Pearl Harbor, smoke covered the water. The attack lasted less than 2 hours, but its consequences reached far beyond Hawaii. Japan had achieved surprise. It had damaged the American fleet. It had shocked a nation that had been divided over how directly to enter the war. But Pearl Harbor was also a strategic miscalculation. The American aircraft carriers were not in port that morning. They survived. So did key repair facilities, fuel storage, and other infrastructure that would help the United States recover and fight back across the Pacific. Japan had wounded American power. It had not destroyed it. The deeper consequence was political. Before Pearl Harbor, many Americans wanted to avoid another world war. The United States supported nations fighting the Axis powers, but full entry into the conflict remained deeply contested. After Pearl Harbor, that debate changed almost overnight. The attack created shock, grief, and anger. It gave the country a single, unmistakable reason to unite. The next day, President Franklin D Roosevelt addressed Congress. He described December 7th as a date that would live in infamy. His message was direct. The United States had been deliberately attacked. The nation now had to respond. Congress declared war on Japan. Within days, Germany and Italy declared war on the United States. What began as an attack in the Pacific pulled America fully into the global conflict. Pearl Harbor changed the Second World War. The United States became not just a supplier or supporter, but a central combatant. Its industry, manpower, naval power, and economic strength would now be mobilized on a massive scale. In the Pacific, the war would become a brutal struggle across islands, oceans, and empires. In Europe, American entry would strengthen the Allied coalition against Nazi Germany. Japan had hoped to buy time. Instead, it awakened a power capable of fighting a long war. Pearl Harbor also changed how wars were understood. The attack showed the destructive power of aircraft launched from carriers. Battleships, once seen as symbols of naval strength, had been struck from the sky while sitting at anchor. The future of naval warfare would increasingly belong to air power, carriers, radar, intelligence, and speed. But Pearl Harbor was never only about strategy. It was about the people caught in a sudden moment of history. Sailors trapped below decks, pilots unable to reach their aircraft, nurses and doctors treating the wounded, civilians watching smoke rise over the island. Families across the country hearing the news and realizing that their world had changed. The attack turned a distant war into an American war. It transformed uncertainty into commitment. It turned isolation into mobilization, and it marked the beginning of a new chapter in the 20th century. Pearl Harbor remains powerful because it represents a fault line in history, a morning when one nation's gamble reshaped the course of a world war.
Japan intended to weaken the United States.
Instead, it brought America into the fight.
And from that moment forward, World War II would never be the same. Fault lines of history. Like and subscribe if you would like to hear more documentaries about the turning points that changed civilization.